Welcome everybody to look at the fourth and final film in the Tales of Adventure Collection number 6 box set. So this fourth and final film is 1969's The Bridge at Remagen. So this is directed by John Gillerman, who also did the really rather fantastic films The Towering Inferno and PJ. So this is a war film, clocking in at 117 minutes long. Stars George Segal, who we've already talked about in King Rat, which was part of this release, as well as Robert Vaughn, who was also in The Towering Inferno, as well as Bullet and the 1960 version of The Magnificent Seven. Also stars Ben Gazzara, who's in Anatomy of a Murder, Bradford Dillman, who was in Compulsion, Escape from the Planet of the Apes, two Dirty Harry sequels in two different roles, The Enforcer and Sudden Impact, as well as the 1978 version of Piranha. And finally, you got Peter Van Eyck, or Ike, who was in The Wages of Fear, The Snorkel, and three of the Dr. Mabuse films. So, in March of 1945, as the war in Europe is coming to a close, fighting erupts between German and American troops at the last remaining bridgehead across the Rhine. So yeah, it comes as no surprise that this war film though was a box office bomb at the time due to three reasons. Firstly, it was released at the end of a decade that had been full of similar World War II efforts. The Vietnam War was still occurring at the time, with anti-war sentiment rightly being high, and it doesn't feature an all-star cast like other similar films. Yes, people will have heard of George Segal, Robert Vaughn, and such, but they're hardly a Steve McQueen or a Clint Eastwood or a Richard Burton or anything like that. Thinking of those last two just because of where Eagles there, but yeah, they're not those kind of big names. You're named actors that you might well have heard of, but you wouldn't instantly think of them as technically leading role stars, to be honest. Um, but yeah, that said, the production value on this is superb, as the action scenes, destruction, and battles are all top notch, which is helped by the fact that they actually had a whole city that was ultimately being demolished and moved elsewhere, as there were a lot of minerals that were under the city that the Czechoslovakians were wanting to exploit. So they were moving the city, and therefore buildings had to be destroyed, as you don't want to be mining while you got buildings on top of you and such. So yeah, they were able to just basically go into that city and to destroy what they wanted and how they wanted, and yeah, truly looks spectacular as you're seeing massive buildings being blown to pieces, and it doesn't look fake at all because it isn't, but it also really does lend some realism to the film. The cast is also good, it is well paced, the score is well done, there is also a genuine sense of realism to the genuine plot, as well as obviously the destruction. It has its tense moments, and while the plot isn't the most original effort, it is nonetheless engrossing. So yeah, not my favourite film out of this release, but it does mean that this release gets a clean run, to be honest, because yeah, I'm giving this 4 out of 5, which means that it also joins Counterattack and Abandoned Ship as 4 out of 5. But King Rat is still the king, as it gets a 4.5 out of 5. But still, that is a fantastic run of films for this box set, to be honest. And I know it doesn't have the most films of any box set, it's only got 4. There's plenty from Imprint, for instance, at 5 or more. But quality over quantity as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, a really really good effort, and this is one of the few efforts that also has numerous extras on the disc as well, which is there. So yeah, got a 1080p high definition presentation. It's a perfectly serviceable presentation. It doesn't look spectacular, but neither does it look awful, and the sound is perfectly good as well. And then you've also got audio commentary by filmmaker historian Steve Mitchell and Stephen J. Rubin from 2025. Then you got To Cast a Skyward Gaze, Making the Case for John Gillerman, video essay by film historian Daniel Kramer, also from 2025. Then you got archival interviews with actors Ben Gazzara and Joe Segal, both separate. And then you got an isolated music track and a theatrical trailer as well. So yeah, easily the most amount of extras on any film for this release, as well as the only other one to have an extra on it, I think, was Counterattack, and that had a theatrical trailer only. So yeah, nice to see that there is some effort put to this release, but it would have been nice for the other films to have more extras as well. But I can probably see why, because Abandoned Ship and King Rat are probably not particularly well known films, and I imagine a large proportion of the people that are involved with those are also now no longer with us. So yeah, perfectly understandable in that regard. But the box set itself is excellent, and yeah, one of my favourites from Imprint as far as box sets go. Even though these aren't the type of films that I would necessarily say are my favourite genre of film, but they are nonetheless really rather good, and yeah, highly recommend each and every one of them. But if you have seen it, the Bridget Remagen, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. But nonetheless, thank you for watching, and I'll see you with the next one. Bye.